Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg, Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media. A good day when we have these cool cats come back in the studio from Bayside Community Center. We got the executive director, Heinle. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
You got it, Drew.
Very, very good. So good to see you again, and all the amazing stuff that you've been bringing in. Your colleague, Demi Brown, founder and director of Empower Language Academy. How you doing, Demi?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you kidding me? It's terrific. So for the very few people in our Spotlight audience that didn't catch the last one, what's the mission of Bayside?
Yeah, thanks for having us back, Drew. The mission of Bayside is to empower our diverse community to improve its quality of life, and we do that through service, education, and advocacy.
Yeah, and you folks have been a stalwart in that area, Linda Vista area, for how many years now?
We've been in Linda Vista since the 70s, but we actually started back in the 1930s down in Little Italy. So we are 93 years old as of March.
I know, and have been doing great things for 93 years. The footprint you folks have, and really kudos to you and your predecessors and the board and everybody, is meaningful, impactful. I'm very proud to say that Classroom of the Future Foundation shares a building with you and all the great work that you do. And we're going to find a way to get some good collaboration with the organization. Classroom of the Future Foundation has been around since 1997 in this area. Talk about your involvement, Demi. How long have you been working with Bayside and so forth?
We've been working with Bayside and Linda Vista for over a decade now. I don't know how long I've been on the board for, probably 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
So our school was founded with the concept of service to community, and so Bayside was a natural partner.
Right, exactly. And so what is Empower Language Academy, and how does it tie in?
So Empower Language Academy is a public charter school with a focus on Spanish immersion and a holistic focus on wellness and health and service to community.
And where's it located?
We are right in Linda Vista. We're across the street from the San Diego County Office of Education.
Okay, right. Okay, so there's a hop, skip, and a jump, right, from Bayside and so forth on it. And Kim, talk about how important the work is, what you folks do with the Empower Language Academy.
We serve the same families.
Right.
I mean, that's part of the Linda Vista community, right? Is you know one neighbor, you know them all, basically. So the same families that Demi has at Empower Language Academy are so often the same families that are coming through for our case management, our social services, our food distributions, our advocacy programs. It's one and the same with the families that we serve between our two institutions. And we're only located about a mile and a half apart from each other on Linda Vista Road.
Right. And for those who don't know, Linda Vista is considered a promise zone. Am I using the right term on that?
We are actually not considered a promise zone.
Not? Okay, thank you.
We are not, but there is a significant need in Linda Vista, and I think that's something that often goes overlooked, although the spotlight has been shined a little bit more on Linda Vista in the past few years, I believe. But yeah, there's a significant need in terms of socioeconomic demographics and food insecurity, access to healthcare, access to education, transportation, etc., affordable housing. Absolutely, 100% access to housing.
Yeah, what we were talking about last time as well was, in the food insecurity. You folks are laser beamed on this with gardens and healthy food and all that. Talk about that, Kim.
Yeah, we've got a lot happening, a lot cooking up in Linda Vista in terms of addressing food insecurity. So we do that in both the short and the long term. Short term, we have our weekly food distributions, and that's something we could talk about maybe in a bit here is the collaboration with Empower and San Diego County Office of Education. But Bayside has a weekly food distribution that currently is serving over 100 families each week. Last year in 2024, we gave out almost 50,000 pounds of fresh produce in that food distribution alone. So we have the short term, you come in for food, you're hungry today. We have a senior lunch program, we can provide food today. But we also know that's not addressing the long-term roots of food insecurity. And so that's where our Bayside Environmental Learning Center comes in. And that's when we bring in the educational component and the advocacy components in the neighborhood. So we're actually teaching residents how to grow their own food, how to be self-sufficient, especially when you live in a community where it's mostly apartments. There's not a lot of land available. We just reopened the Linda Vista Community Garden in partnership with San Diego Parks Foundation and the City of San Diego and a whole host of other organizations. And that garden is just a gem in the community for allowing residents to be self-sufficient and grow their own food in a food desert.
Well, and I think what's even more important than that, and I mean, I talked about it before, and we all know this, is that one of the challenges in, socioeconomic areas that, are sort of low in this area is, the type of food you're eating. And healthy food is critical. I mean, that sounds such an obvious statement, but we know about childhood obesity, which is just going to turn into something real bad. And what you guys are doing, it's all about health. It's healthy food, and talk about how important that is.
Oh, it's critical. I mean, especially when folks can come in through our food distribution, and on the one hand, they're getting the non-perishable items that are critical. So, the shelf-stable foods, the pastas, the carbs, the canned goods. But we're also supplementing that with fresh produce that's grown literally a mile or less away from the distribution site itself. And we have 3 off-site community gardens. The community garden is just one of them.
Right.
And that's just so important for the quality of food that is going into our kids, into our seniors. So many of our seniors as well in the neighborhood are food insecure and low income, and they're living on, a couple $100s a month, and that's it. And that has to cover rent as well. So being able to provide them with not only the shelf-stable goods, but also the fresh produce, the tomatoes, the squash, the cucumbers, the cilantro, these culturally appropriate foods in a neighborhood like Linda Vista that's extremely diverse, it's so critical to the quality of life that folks can have.
Right. And then that ties so perfectly into what you do, Demi. You can't learn if you're hungry, if your stomach is churning, and for 75 different reasons. So, talk about how important that is to have somebody who is, getting these nutrients and all that business so they can learn what you're doing.
Absolutely. Kids need their basic needs met if we're going to teach them. And the services that Bayside's providing help ensure that our kids have access. The state of California has been great with ensuring that there's free meals for all kids now. So all of our kids get free breakfast and lunch and snack as well. So it's just so important. And just teaching kids at our school, we're teaching them the healthy habits, because in the neighborhood, there are just so many fast food options. And how great would it be to, from when you're young, to go, oh, I should reach for the apple instead of the bag of chips, right? So
100%.
that's what we do.
Well, and those little things, they're not little. They're big when that becomes a habit and they become accessible thanks to what they're doing in Kim's area and so forth. Talk about the bread and butter, no pun intended here, and here I'm talking about not healthy foods, right? Of what Empower Language Academy does with the community.
So we recently received a grant from the state of California to be a full-fledged community school. And so we have been able to expand our partnerships where we are able to offer dental services at school, parent trainings, mental health services where families can receive wraparound services. They can get counseling when they go to pick up their kids, and then they get parent training even at home. So that's been huge, and we want to just continue to expand that and offer these services to the greater community as well.
Yeah, when you talk about community schools and you talk about what you're doing, I'm going to date myself a little bit here because I'm quadruple times older than both of you combined, for God's sake. But I remember when I was working for San Diego Unified, Hamilton Elementary was sort of a poster child for a community school. This is way back in the day, where it was more than just teaching and learning. It was social services. It was X, Y, and Z. And of course, now we're seeing obviously the benefits of that. Certainly having that school as the hub in the area. What I loved that you brought up was mental health. You can't help but talk about mental health and the anxiety that our kids, everyone for that matter, not just kids, but especially we've never seen the elevation of it to the kids ever in my lifetime. Talk about how you're dealing with that. You mentioned that a little bit.
within our school system. Yeah, especially post-pandemic, we're just seeing the results of kids that didn't have the social opportunities and that foundation that they really needed. And so there is a big focus on being able to provide those services. And we've just found it so effective. The organization that we've partnered with, UPAC, provides these services where families can really get the help that they need to help their kids, because there's also only so much you can do at school, but being able to help support families at home so that they know how to support their kids is huge.
Yeah, there's no question. We're chatting with Demi Brown, founder and director of Empower Language Academy, joined by Kim Heinle, executive director of Bayside Community Center. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County, from food insecurity to financial literacy to arts and everything in between. And, Kim, when you hear, the work that's going on by your colleague, Demi Brown, and, of course, the Language Academy, obviously ties into the wheelhouse of what you folks are doing as well. It's a great compliment. So, Kim, how do you measure the success of what you folks are doing? Obviously, there's 85 different tentacles to your success. It's food insecurity, it's language, it's housing, it's clothing, and all that. But what do you say that we're on the right path? How do you judge it?
Oh, that's such a good question. This is the grant language coming in. It's always qualitative and quantitative how we measure success.
Right.
But let me just jump into the qualitative here, because we recently just interviewed some of our seniors in celebration of International Women's Month here in March. We interviewed some of our seniors to get their feedback on, what does Bayside mean to you in this community, and some of our women seniors in particular. And one of them in particular, her name is Kathy. She is a volunteer at Bayside. She comes every day. Kathy's in her mid-80s. She lives in Linda Vista, and she is a former graduate of our Resident Leadership Academy. She's been a part of our senior lunch for many, many years. And now she volunteers and helps serve our senior lunch, helps staff our food distribution on Fridays, handing out food. Again, she's in her 80s. And she said to my colleague when he interviewed her, she said, Bayside is the reason I get out of bed in the morning. And we have heard from a number of seniors in the past that Bayside is a second home, but I've never heard that Bayside is the reason I get out of bed in the morning. And that to me is a measure of success. I can't think of a better number than that statement. There
is not a better number. And you hit the nail on the head. Yes, we always look at quantifiable stuff. That's fine. But it's the qualitative stuff. That here's the kid that was not engaged in learning and is now learning and going to school. So they're still 3 grade levels below where they are. That's not a failure. That's a success, because they just jumped 3.
Exactly.
They started 8th grade in the 3rd grade level, and now they finished 8th grade in the 6th grade. They went 3 grade levels. You won't see that on the quantitative side, but you'll see it on the qualitative side. I think that's great. We come back from break. I want to talk about some of the women and women leaders in Linda Vista, of course, in Bayside's academic club, and then save some time for you, Demi. What can our listeners do that can support your efforts? So think about that when we return with our friends from the Bayside Community Center and Empower Language Academy. Kim Heinle, the executive director of Bayside, and Demi Brown, founder and director of Empower Language Academy. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County. How cool it is to have a return appearance from Bayside Community Center. Kim-Heinle, the executive director, joined by her colleague Demi Brown, founder and director of Empower Language Academy. So let's talk about some of those women and women leaders in Linda Vista. Kim, you being one of them. I know you're going, Drew, what are you talking about, for God's sake? And you are. Talk about that.
Yeah, no, I don't like that at all. It's funny. I'm going to punt this to my colleagues. But no, I mean, it's so empowering to work in a neighborhood that is, the women are the backbone of Linda Vista. I mean, if you come to a community meeting at Bayside or, any of the civic body meetings, I'm sure some of the PTA meetings, Demi could talk about that. It's women. Women are who show up overwhelmingly. Majority are women participants in the community. Right. Our Leaders in Action program, these are all of the graduates of the Resident Leadership Academy that Bayside hosts. We are about to host our 20th Academy later this spring. Yeah, thank you so much. We'll be sure to get some of the graduates on here. But the overwhelming majority, I think it's almost 95% of the 170 unduplicated individuals who've gone through that Resident Leadership Academy are women. When they come each month to volunteer their time to go do work in the community, it's the women who are showing up. And that's just what's empowering to me, to work in a neighborhood and in a community that sees the value of women in the neighborhood and the power that they have. Even if they're not the ones in the leadership position at the top, they are the leaders on the ground doing the work day in and day out.
Yeah, and we know that. And they are now role models for the ones that come by that I can do this too, and which is so critical. You were talking about this earlier, Demi, that, there's a lot of things. Yeah, you do language and all that business, but also you do mental health. You also do financial responsibility as well. Talk about that.
We've hosted workshops for families, teaching them about how to buy a home, all of that. All of this is just so important to our students and their families and the community, and just empowering their lives and themselves.
Yeah, and we all know that when they get the tools to do this, and certainly in financial literacy is part of it. We're sitting here at Mission Fed Credit Union, of course, and can't talk enough about, the things that may be obvious to us, but not to a lot of folks, on how to balance a budget. In theory, you should probably not be spending more than you're making. Easier said than done in many cases. We understand that. But now you've empowered them, obviously the name in the title as well, in this. Talk about the language aspect of it. There's multiple languages spoken in Linda Vista. How many different languages?
There are actually, I wrote it down, there are over 38 language dialects in Linda Vista. The most popular languages are Vietnamese and Spanish. Yeah. So when you build your literacy in your primary language, it helps you learn English better, quicker. Our school has 40% of our students are considered English learners, and our students are outperforming the state on standardized assessments, and they're learning in Spanish. Yeah,
and I'm so glad you brought that up. I was fortunate enough to work in the second language, among other things, when I was working for city schools and worked with ELEPs, the English for Limited English Proficient Students. That probably dates me by even saying that. And I remember this was in the 80s when a lot of the folks came over from Vietnam, so you're Lao and, everything known to mankind in that area. And you're absolutely right. When you get proficient in your native language, you become proficient in other languages too. But also talk about, if you can, and I'll pivot to you on this one too, Kim, but start with you, Demi, on just the sense of belonging and the sense of collaboration when you're doing these things.
Yeah, and I think that's where Bayside is really strong and Empower as a small school community as well, because it's about the relationships. People know that they can, if they have a need, they can go to Bayside and they can bring that need up, and they don't have to pick up the phone. They can just go in, and that they will be treated like a human and served. And that's part of how the whole food distribution started. I saw that there was an issue, and like, who do you go to in Linda Vista if you need something to happen? You call Kim at Bayside, and then things just go from there. And so I think the relationships and the collaboration, like the heart of Linda Vista is love. That's something that we just say in the community, and it's just so true. There's so much love for the community and amongst just everyone in the community working together.
Yeah, and really, again, kudos to Kim and, of course, the predecessors to Kim, because she doesn't like to get the credit with this. And I know there have been a lot of wonderful folks that were in the catbird seat that she was in, and a great board and great staff and so forth. But you got to establish that sort of, theme, so to speak, or mission, or, DNA. And that's what you've done, Kim, without trying to patronize you. People know that. Just exactly what Demi is saying. We got an issue in Linda Vista. We know who we're starting with, for God's sake. Talk about how important that is to build that trust in that community, because it's all about trust.
Well, I appreciate that so much, and thank you for saying that. And I think it's all founded on presence, right? I mean, when you are present in the community and you continue to show up, that builds a foundation of trust that you can't carry anywhere else. I mean, it's so important to have a physical presence, a face in the neighborhood and in the community. And I want to give a shout out to my colleague, Rose, who is not able to join us today. Rose is our Director of Programs and Operations at Bayside Community Center, and she's been at the center now for 49 years. 49 years. And she has been everything from case manager to social services to programs and ops to HR. I mean, you name it. But when people walk into our center, they know Rose. Rose is an icon in the community, and that is literal decades of trust that she has built with the families in the neighborhood. So we'll have clients come in and go, oh my gosh, you served my grandma, right, 30 years ago. Oh, I've been coming to Bayside, and I've seen the same faces here. The retention we have on our staff at Bayside is fantastic. I mean, most of our staff have been there for at least 5 years. We have some staff who've been there for 10, another for 20, Rose for almost 50. It's just having that presence and that stability in a neighborhood. And that just comes back to our partnerships across the board. There are institutions in Linda Vista that have been there for decades, Empower included, Bayside, the library, Parks and Rec, Access Community Center. I mean, there's up and down the street, there are institutions that will not leave. We are ingrained in the community, and the services you can get when you walk into one of those centers, Bayside included.
Right, and we're hopeful that Classroom of the Future Foundation, which is relatively new to you folks, who are just down the street, of course, on the hill, so to speak, at the county office, but now in the building where you are, been there since 2020, can be one of those groups.
Absolutely.
And we're looking forward to establishing that relationship. I'll start with you on this, Demi, and then pitch it over to Kim. What can our listeners do to support the Language Academy?
I think anyone who's listening that thinks that they have a great workshop that they could offer, please get in touch. We'd love to be able to give you that platform that would be empowering to our community. And we still have a few spots for enrollment next year. So if this sounds like a school for you, feel free to check us out on our website at empowercharter.org.
Well, I'm sitting right next to the founder and CEO of Cloudcast Media and my business partner, Charles Parisi. And I know the first thing we're going to offer is some podcast lessons or something like that, have people come in and observe what we're doing on this. And if Kim, if you're not doing this at Bayside, we should probably tee you up with something like that.
Oh, we'd love to. Come on out. I mean, bring the services to the people. We will easily get some of our seniors, some of our kids in our summer after school program there, bring Empower up. I mean, it's all in the family at the Linda Vista Innovation Center.
I think what we'll do is somewhere down the road, we love doing remotes. We were just at the sheriff's headquarters, and we did one there. We did one at Cal State San Marcos for their big social mobility conference. We did one at the Humane Society for their fur ball. We're going to do something at Bayside. You and I will chat about that offline.
Count us in.
Absolutely. What else can we do to support your efforts, Kim?
I think having folks who just want to get involved, like I said, come be present, come volunteer, get on our mailing list, learn about what's happening in Linda Vista and in our programs. We have opportunities to volunteer in our gardens, in our food distributions, in our senior lunch program. We're always looking for folks to be a part of the community. Anything we can do to bring more people into the fold of Linda Vista.
Sounds good. What's the website?
www.baysidecc.org.
Well, we're going to look forward to having you with another return appearance. You already got some ideas for lining up some people as well. And Demi, it was a pleasure meeting you as well. I know our paths will cross somewhere down the road, and appreciate you giving some of your time to chat on our Spotlight show.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We've been talking to Kim Heinle, Executive Director of Bayside Community Center, joined by her colleague Demi Brown, Founder and Director of Empower Language Academy. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 19th year, brought to you by great people of Mission Fed Credit Union, more than 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County. And we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast